Oh.
You said unpredictability, targeting, etc. All those bunch of positive words to see if we could come up with something to inspire people. But the reality about stuff is actually bigger than that. And just recently, I was sitting with somebody, and I think you've disabled my remote. Okay, so if you can just the slides, in the next slide, please. Okay, so what stuck is on, let's call the other side of the world, let's call the dark side, as we would say in cyber, is somebody sits down, they've just finished school, or they're about to finish school, and they say to themselves, what am I going to do? We've all heard this, especially if you're parents. I'm sure you've heard this a bunch of times. We hear people that nearly finish in university. Well, I went through that. I was close to finishing university, and I said, what's this degree that I'm studying? Where am I going to apply it? And I didn't apply it. I walked out of university straight into the South African police, much to my father's disgust. So I unstuck myself. Other people say, I'm in a job right now. This is the character that I was speaking to last week. He was close to tears, saying, I've got this job. I'm in a really important corporate position. I drive a fancy car, which my monthly payments of, say, about $6,000. I rent a flat in a really smart area, which is another $6,000. My girlfriend's expensive, all due respect to all ladies. It costs him X amount. His entertainment costs him X amount because he's trying to live a certain level of his life, and he's stuck. You know what stuck is all about? It's about fear. The fear that eats you up because you're too scared to make the next move. And I went through exactly the same process a long, long time ago. I worked for a horrible boss, really, really horrible boss. The company had given me a house. The company had given me a car. The company, I didn't spend food because it was a hospitality business, so I lived on the premises, I ate on the premises. I had liberties like you won't believe. I think my entire salary went into my bank account without me spending very much on it. But I still spent pretty ruthlessly on entertainment, especially trying to entertain friends. And then in those days, and I'm talking 2001, I probably flattened $4,000 a month, just on pure entertainment, nothing else. And it was that fear working for this horrible boss that I didn't want to lose the house, I didn't want to lose the salary, etc., etc. And I was horribly, horribly unhappy. Until she eventually successfully put me in hospital. Like a complete breakdown. Because that's how far she drove me. And then when I walked out of that hospital in 3 or 4 days' time, I said, that's it. And as the Afrikaner says, true fat and new fat. Did I get that right? And that's it. I just cancelled it out. I just said, this is where we stop. And that's what we're talking about when we get stuck. And it's a horrible thing. A lot of people go through this process, especially with decision making and trying to work out for their career. And what I do today is inspire people to unstuck themselves. You can, it's only up to you. So if you can just select me that next slide, please. Passion. And I just want to touch on passion. You better be ready because we're going to have to move the next slide very quickly. No, not yet. Going back to the corporate world, I don't know if there are any HR people here, so don't throw your tomatoes at me just yet. Being in senior management, one of the worst parts of my job was on the job interviews, or job interviews. We had vacancies within the department, and they would say, we've got these 5 people lined up, here are the CVs. Never read the CVs, couldn't even go through them. Because every single interview to me was the most boring thing on earth. Because everybody said to me they had passion. Not that type of passion. The next one, please. Passion for goals. Now, I always say to people, you can't have a passion if you don't have a vision. It's impossible. So don't come and sit in front of me and tell me you've got a passion. and especially in the hospitality industry. You would get new students out of hotel school, sit in front of you and say to you, Mr. Fordred, I've got this passion for food and beverage. Right. So where have you experienced this food and beverage? Passion, not the scope. Okay, got it. We're a corporate hotel with 500 rooms and all these other things. We have an F&B director, we have an F&B manager, we have a deputy manager, and a whole team of F&B people. And you want to tell me you're passionate? What are you going to do? You're going to break the chain? So it just to crank me up because people didn't understand passion. And one lesson was part. You cannot have a passion without the vision, and the vision needs to be transformed into an experience. Simple example. You do an online course, how to make sausage rolls. Who's made sausage rolls before? Anybody? It's not easy. Okay? And the one thing that goes wrong is the fire industry. You do this online course, and the first time you do it, it flops. But you can go on at this, and the next time you do it, it flops again. And the third time you do it, it flops again. You have passion. You have no passion. But you've got a passion to tell everybody that that training doesn't work. And that's what we're talking about. You've got to transform that experience, that vision. We always say, I love this. You go into a big company and you say, oh, you know, the CEO is about to leave. How long has he been there? No, 22 years. So he's built the company. Yes, he's built the company. And who's the person taking over? No, that guy is that department. He's lined up to be the CEO. And then after a short while, the whole process goes through. The new CEO is appointed, and 6 months, year and a half, the board's upset with them, the shareholders are upset with them, nobody is really happy, the company's falling apart around his ears, there's unhappiness among staff, and well, why? Because you cannot take over a position, particularly of CEO, if you don't have a vision at all. And it's the same as every single individual. You've got to be the CEO of yourself. You've got to create that vision. Then you've got to transform that into a passion, which takes me to there. Okay, Leila Gharani. Happiness is not something ready made. In other words, we can't just shake the packet into a glass of water and stir it. It comes about from our own actions. So what I say to people often is, nothing will happen until you make it happen. It's as simple as that. So again, it goes back to that passion. We need to find that passion. And when we have the passion, because we've seen results by something that we do in our own actions, we know it works. Then you can come and sit in front of me and tell me you've got a passion. You know, I eventually used to do interviews. And it cheesed the HR department. I would meet the guys in the foyer, and afterwards I'd do 5 interviews or whatever. I had a caffeine rush or not. Because this is taken to staff canteen. And I say, sit down. You like coffee, tea, etc., etc. Yeah, they have coffee. I ask them basic questions. Nothing about work. Nothing. I wanted to understand the person sitting on the other side of the table. What do you do for sport? What type of movies do you watch? Do you read books? There's a bunch of people like that just simply don't read books. Those that do, they'll give you a pretty good idea of what to do and why they read. And when they tell you that, it gives you an idea what they're about. And then while we're generally talking about life as parents, where do you come from, where do you go to school, how do you enjoy school, I would then start to walk them through the building. Say, for instance, you're employing in the back of house manager, and suddenly his face lights up and says, it's the back of house store. Now I know he's got passion. This is solving my own building what I've got. Or you walk along and say, why are the cleaners storing chemicals and not segregating them from, say, foodstuffs? Just hypothetical situation. Now I know that guy's got passion because he's telling me what's going wrong. And that gave me a better idea of interviewing people and realizing what I'm dealing with. And it should be the same process we deal with ourselves as individuals. When we walk around and we say to yourself, what's our next step in life? What is my passion? Do I recognize what I'm looking for in something else next? So when COVID came along, it destroyed all of it. But COVID said, hold on, people. A whole lot of us went into this phase of we're desperate, our companies are about to close. We saw this in cybersecurity, hugely in cybersecurity. We saw companies are suddenly looking into themselves, saying, what do we do now? Where's our business coming from? COVID is going to stall the business at the end of our business. And that was right in the early days of COVID. And suddenly, because of COVID, ransomware came along. Because there were more and more people working at home. And suddenly you saw the cyber industry go like that. But for the rest of everybody else, they suddenly, for the first time in their lives, were running a business and were looking into themselves saying, what do we do now? They weren't looking at their competitors anymore. We've got this disease, and government throwing all sorts of regulations at it. What do we do now? How do we unstuck ourselves? We are stuck. We're going to go bankrupt. We don't do something about it. But you know who came to the party was individuals. I wish there was a research study right now to show us how many people changed their careers because of COVID. Because of COVID. It's like, and COVID created a magnitude of emotions in people. Mainly fear, but anger, for whatever reason. I'm not going to get into those debates. Some people were perplexed. Some people started to whine. So they went through all the phases of denial, through the phases of being upset and all that, and then they would come out. And some of them really got to the top. Some of them found new relationships. They divorced their partner, they realized they're not done. You know what? This is not the person for me. They got divorced. And they made themselves happier with somebody else. Others, in terms of education, they did a degree, they were sitting at home, or they did some other form of education. They improved themselves. What we need to do now, even after COVID ends, it will end eventually, we need to be positive about that, is to take these new learning lessons and apply them, no matter what, as we go into life and stuff. And from that, there was a total burst of ideas. Burst. We saw people coming out with ideas that were mind-boggling, absolutely earth-shattering. For instance, when it was the Cyber Institute just took off as well, because our training courses were saying, and we saw people, for instance, like in accountancy, suddenly we're doing a cyber investigations course. They changed careers. This is it stuff that this is way more interesting to me. I'm getting more out of this. I've applied your training. I've seen the results when I do the training, when I apply the training, and it's given me the passion. And I'm sure in many, many other fields, I do know of a lawyer who said, that's it, I'm out of here, and he's farming. So that was his change. So it created a stronger vision for people to find their passion, to look around and say, what do I really want to do? And I go back to what I said to you earlier. When you start actually looking at things that you're looking at, it's a process of mindful, you start to identify things that appeal to you. And when you start to look at those things that appeal to you, you need to work out the courage that was of taking them on. Take them on, don't be scared of them. Right, so what we're going to talk about this evening and move this passion a little bit further as individuals is things that we're going to do in terms of that, especially for young. But frankly, I don't think what we're going to talk about this evening doesn't matter what age you are. I've seen an 18-year-old, because of COVID, running an online business, he's made maybe just shy of $1 million running an online business. He's 18 years old. I've seen much older people make money. I know of a woman that does knitting classes online right now. She's making money. She's not really about the money. It's more about that she's bringing happiness to other people. The money is complementary to her. It's something else for her to do something and enjoy the rest of them. And what she really, really gets a satisfaction of is helping other people from it. That's what it's all about. So identifying, for instance, that we can go work overseas. And what I won't cover this evening is exactly some of these industries, such as doctors, the kid over here as a pilot, brother, lawyers and engineers, and then many others. I'm not going to talk about those because they take too long. They take at least, say, 5, 7, 6, 7 years of study. Then you've got to do sort of a locum, or you've got to do an in-house training, and then you can break loose and then go off. So we're not going to talk about this. Give me the next slide, please. We're going to talk about what I call instant careers. And by no means am I watering down anybody's career. Because instant careers can also happen because some people sit in law school for 7 years, comes out, or 6 years, whatever it is now, and he comes out and he says, or she says, you know what, I'm not going to do my articles. I'm going to do this. I want to be a waiter. Okay, so we've got options. Well, go back to this, too far. So, for instance, the hospitality industry. And the reason that I highlight the hospitality industry because it's one of the biggest sectors for what I call instant careers. Because I was there myself, so I was cool. Okay, and most of the people started as waiters, hotel security. Doesn't take a lot of training to get into hotel security. On your chefing side, I've seen young cooks come through. They were a staff canteen cook or a griller in a restaurant, and they come into a hotel, eventually work themselves up to a demi chef, a party chef, low-ranking chefs, and so they build themselves up. They might not get to a sous chef or an executive chef because they don't have the formal training, but that's not our point here. You don't want to go there. You get concierge, front desk staff. It's an instant career. You don't need a huge amount of training. You can go there. So that's the one sector. We'll get into countries and maybe some of the companies that are easy, sort of accessible to do that. Like that. Bodyguards. You don't need a huge amount of training to become a bodyguard. And the thing about bodyguards is they want to be in many, many countries around the world. Many, even the UK. So it's not an industry, it's not a breakthrough industry where you're going to battle and you're going to go through a huge employment process. These are processes that you apply and you get into them fairly quickly. Cruise liners and the super yachts. This word of warning, the word of warning. Anybody has aspirations to get into super yachts, make sure, like the Afrikaner says, you've got hair on your teeth, because it is a highly stressful industry. But it is a rewarding industry. You get to see the world, you get well paid. I mean, a deckhand starts at about $2,500 US. Stewardesses start at about also 2.5. Senior stewardess can earn about 5,000 US a month. And remember, you're not spending any money. But you live in very confined spaces. You're on top of each other all the time. And like when they say, when owner's on or boss on, you work 7 days a week, probably 16 to 18 hours a day. But there's a huge firing career movement very, very quickly and very, very sharply. And I'll tell you the crux of that shortly. Cruise line is a little bit different. The cruise liners have also improved over the years. The labor law is not as bad, depending on what flag they're under. But your more reputable ones, P&O, Norwegian, Costa Concordias, the big American one, Carnival, sorry. Yeah, well, there's also the other one. Anyway, Carnival's the one I was thinking of. So they've improved in terms of labor legislation, working conditions. They're a lot better. If you go for some of the smaller ones, they don't have a great amount of labor. They don't care about you. If you fall over the side, then it's bonus. Anyway, now I'm being facetious. But really, those are some of the instant career options that one has. Give me the next slide, please. And the other one I can't leave out because Mark was there as well. Anyway, if you want to travel the world, get paid for it, and meet a lot of fantastic people, is hit the speaking circuit. That's why we speak in mosaics, in quite a big audience. And as a junior speaker, you start out where you just get paid for, say you're traveling in accommodation, you don't get any pay. By the time COVID came, I was earning traveling accommodation and anything from $1,500 to $2,500 per gig. So it is another way to see the world, being a speaker, and it's not that difficult to get into. It's finding a passion, finding something that you can share with people, finding something that you can speak to people about and share a piece of advice with them, and that type of thing. We've got speakers at the moment, for instance, Simon Sinek earns 25,000 euros per week. Brenda Smith probably earns probably in the same region. And when Brenda was nominated to do a TEDx talk, you really heard of TEDx. Yeah. When she heard that about 300 people would be in attendance to the TEDx talk, she went in a complete panic mode and she said, "Cancer, I won't be there. I won't be there. I simply cannot stand up in front of 300 people." Today she speaks to audiences of 5,000 or something and earns big money. Tony Robbins took the public speaking circuit and it was like putting petrol to the fire and set it alight. Tony Robbins makes millions of the speaking circuit. So just another idea. So if you have a passion for something, you want to share it with people, it's the way to go. So where do we do this? We can't do it in every single country of the world. A lot of countries have immigration rules. They don't want us there. I just wish Namibia were getting a little bit stricter with their working rules, and we don't have all these foreigners coming here and taking over the jobs of locals, and being able to, cultivate our local economy. So the next slide, please. So we can't go to all the countries. I can't cover all of them that are accessible to us, quite a lot, but I'm going to cover the most common ones. UAE, Abu Dhabi, and Dubai. In all the other UAE countries, Somalia and probably lower. But the common ones are Dubai and Abu Dhabi. Dubai, there are hospitality positions by the dime and the dozen. With COVID, there's even more vacancies now. Entry-level jobs in Dubai, you can walk in probably at $1,000 per month. Entry-level. I'm talking bare bones. Literally, you worked in Spur for 6 months and you want to go to Dubai. It's just a case of getting the job, landing the job. Because whoever you go work for as a sponsor will sort out the work permit. The work permit process is a lot easier than many other countries. So the thing about Dubai is easy access. You make a commitment for about 5 years, or you go for longer than that, depending on what stage of your life you're in. What I say to every single individual, when you're in Dubai, it's not about the work. Sure, you can work yourself up. You can start getting positions that pay 5,000, 6,000 US per month. It's about the connections that you make, the context that you make. That is the critical thing. Because you meet exciting people in Dubai, people that can take you away. It's like, I always use the analogy of a modeling agency. The girls hit the circuit, they want to get into the modeling ranks as fast as possible. They want to get into the best fashion brands as fast as possible. Dubai does the same thing. If you meet the right people, it will accelerate where you go into the future. Singapore is another one. A little bit trickier, but particularly in the hospitality industry. And also, I must add there as well, a lot of UN agency jobs are based in Singapore. Not all of them are those instant careers, but definitely on the hospitality side, the cyber side, and one or two others. The security side, there's a massive security industry in Singapore at the moment. So that's another fairly unrestricted access. Still need a sponsor, but you can get in. And then the Caribbean islands, where we all have a romantic dream of sipping cocktails on the beaches and that sort of thing. But really, that doesn't have to be a romantic dream at all. To work in the Caribbean is not that difficult. It's probably even easier to go work in the Caribbean than it is in Dubai. You just need a basic qualification that needs a job out there, and off you go. You compete with the Americans quite a lot, especially in the East, but in any of the others, and you must choose your island as well. Some of them are fairly unsafe. You don't want to go to Haiti at the moment, but and one or two of the others are anyway, a little bit of a security thing. So do your research, and if you want to go to the Caribbean, then off you go. There is a possibility to go and work there. And then the USA and Germany shouldn't be left out entirely. There are gaps to get access to professions within those countries. Okay, especially on a temporary basis. I'm not talking about on a permanent basis, particularly in terms of America. We're talking green card and all that mission. Can happen, but it's a lot more trickier. But temporary positions, and especially, let's say for instance, you go into Dubai, you work for a hotel group like Marriott or Hilton, and they've got hotels in America, and they have a vacancy, for instance, for an F&B manager. Then you can go from Dubai into America, and they do the whole transfer process. They go through the whole cycle of getting you there and being able to work in those countries. It's the ideal world, but it can happen. Germany is similar, and a couple of the other European countries, I believe Ireland is the process for temporary workers as well, so especially engineers from what I believe. And then our beautiful Africa. We mustn't forget about Africa. Nigeria has a lot of high-paying jobs, a lot. So you can't forget about Nigeria. This is not everybody's cup of tea. And if you do go and work there, make sure you live on Victoria Island. We've got Mauritius, we've got Seychelles. Mauritius is okay. It's quite a bureaucratic country, but still fairly pleasant in that sense. And then we have Angola. Angola is a lot better than it was when I was last there, which is probably over 10 years ago. It has improved a lot from what people tell me. It's very, very expensive. But if you do land a job there, you're going to be well paid, but not paid well looked after. You kind of got to take it for yourself. So that, in summary, is just a sort of idea of different careers in different countries, and then go on to the online side of life, and where we can find some passionate ways to release ourselves there and make money on an online basis. But these are the sort of what I call the instant careers to be able to work in these countries. Are there any questions? I see a sip of water. Any questions? Yes, sir.
Let's focus on the tourism.
Can we just do it into the microphone?
Focused on tourism.
Yeah.
If I look at Namibia, it doesn't look good at the moment, and it doesn't look too good if you look for the next year, let's say, because of the restrictions, flights, capacities, and so on. But you still stick to tourism would be a good entry point. Just a question to that. Yeah. Oh, and yes, if I want to stay here in Namibia and not go to all these countries.
Okay, so the thrust of my whole idea is about working elsewhere. I don't want to really comment on the Namibian market. Though I think Namibia is going to probably go through a bit of a struggling uphill process. I think you're 100% correct. There's still got a lot of regulations in places. But the Dubai, for instance, look at the Dubai Expo, the biggest expo in the world. Ferrari World, during the entire COVID thing, didn't shut down. They just implemented very strict COVID regulations. Ferrari will make you cry at the size of it. It really makes your eyes water just to see this spectacular building and all the Ferraris and the amount of money that's been spent on it. So from going from here to there, yes. Hospitality, if you ask me to invest in a hospitality industry in Namibia or anywhere in Southern Africa right now, I know other people are a lot more risk averse than I am, but I'm talking foreign, looking elsewhere around the world. And the tourism industry is definitely coming up worldwide. We just seem to be a lot slower over here. That's my personal assumption. Any other questions? Okay, so let's go online. Anybody in this room do an online business right now? Cool. Anybody else? Yes, excellent. Media, media, marketing. Okay. No one else. Do you want to make money? Let me tell you, an online business will make you money. It's just our approach to finding the passion again. We can make money. What we do, it's a simple process. You've got something to sell and somebody gives you money. Easy as that. No. Andrew, it can't be that easy. I promise you, it's that easy. Let me give you an example. 7 years ago, I'm not going to name. He used to go and buy all these wood carvings. Then he used to drive through to Ohio. Until he loaded the whole container, he used to collect orders from the Americans. Until he filled the entire container. And he had an agent in America. He got his payment, and then he shipped this whole order off to America. And that's how he started the online business. Because what he did was he posted the pictures on this website. As he built up the stock, they would order it. And of course, anything with animals in it, they loved it. And he would sell out on that stuff really quickly. His restrictions came in a little bit later because of wood. Wood's not the easiest thing to import into some countries because it's quite heavy. Pesticide or pest restrictions, and they don't want anything to spread to their own countries, then it has to be specially treated, and that's where it started to get very expensive in terms of doing that business. He doesn't do it anymore, but it's just an example where an online business started. The learning sector of online businesses right now, worldwide, globally, is apparently worth $10 billion right now. Oof. That's how much the industry's grown. We started online training in 2016, way before COVID came. We were charging, our first couple of courses, we were charging $99. And we were high end. Today, to find a course of $99, it's a dime in a dozen. Lots, plenty. And the pricing has gone quite widespread. So it's been around for a long time. And it's growing furiously quickly. People, if you can operate a cell phone, you can start an online business, especially online training. If you've got something to talk about, you've got that passion, you know the result, you were able to grow carrots, then you can walk around where you grew your carrots and form it and tell people how to plant carrots and grow them and put it online and charge them $10 for that privilege. Or you can do it for free. And make people feel good, make yourself feel good, and then elevate into more paid courses from there. So there's many ways to master the whole online training thing, and I'm not going to get into a lot of detail tonight because it's quite complex. Online marketing, huge business, massive. Guys are making tons of money out of it. Okay, I know one guy, we work very closely together and we've got similar sort of synergies in terms of the type of businesses we do. We do a particular risk intelligence in particular countries. He does sort of the product assessments or does products fit into certain markets. He does market intelligence. We kind of work a little bit together and he makes a lot of money just by evaluating products, the country, and what the markets are doing. So there's a lot of time to that as well. And we, for example, and many of these guys that I'm talking about, never sit face to face with the client. I don't even see my clients anymore. I might see them on Zoom and I might see them on Skype. Some of them I've never met in real life. But I know they exist because obviously they get paid and I know what companies they work for. And I sit in my jeans or my shorts or worst underpants, but just put on a decent shirt and we have a discussion with each other. Some of them I have to talk to them at 4 o'clock in the morning, all blurry eyed and all that because they work out on the phone. So that's the nature of online business. Social media. Somebody was talking about earlier before we started talking about we started to talk about social media. If you're going to do an online business, repeat after me. Social media does not bring you business. Yeah? Social media does not bring you business. Forget it. It doesn't work. You pay for Facebook ads, waste the money, you wasted your time and more. Twitter does nothing to enhance your business. You pay for nothing. The only social media that brings you in money, they can complement what you're going to do. Yes, they are not the tool to use. The only tool to use is, in social media terms, is YouTube. Why is that so? Because the world's population has got this philosophy of instant gratification. I don't want to read a 60-page document how to plant carrots. But if you're going to tell me in 10 minutes in a YouTube video, you've got it. And when you tell people how to do something, it then gives them a vision. I'm going to grow 60 carrots today. And then they see in a week's time, 60 carrots have got leaves. It's transformation into knowledge and passion. Because I made it happen. I did it. I just listened to his video. Joseph told me to do it like this and this and this. It works. You even get sex classes on YouTube now. Sorry, I didn't bring that up. That's effective life. You even get psychologists talking on YouTube. There's always a game plan for the end. I get. For me, for instance, today is a victory in my life. I've lost 17 kilos in the last 4 months. My doctor told me I was obese and I had to lose weight. I had to find out this trip all by myself. There was nobody to help me. I turned to YouTube. Found it there. I found a guy called Jerry Maguire. And Jerry is taking me through the whole process. I've learned weight loss and lifestyle change you cannot do on your own. You're not strong enough for that. Us as human beings are not strong enough for that. So just the tip I'm sharing with you. So if you want to go into this, YouTube's the place where you go. That's where you start. And you build up your business from there. And you can always, when you give something for free, people can give that. Now buy your business. If you're authentic, if you're true to yourself, in other words, you're not trying to be somebody else, and whatever you've done, you've researched well, and say, listen, watch my video, I'm going to show you how to plant 60 carrots. By the time you've finished watching my video, you'll be able to plant 60 carrots. But by the way, if you want to run a whole tunnel, my course costs $100. That's the catch. Okay? So social media in that sense, YouTube's the place to go. I'm going to repeat again. If you want to make money fairly quickly. I mean, I'm not going to pitch a sale at you, but people that come to my coaching class on online businesses, I get them making money at least $1,000 within about 3 days. So you can make money, and I'm going to give you an example of it. Give you the next slide, please. Leila Gharani, fantastic woman. She's broken a lot of barriers down. She's really done well. Her net wealth in September this year was $958 US. So just multiply that by 14. That will tell you how that number is. Okay. In the yesterday she made $466 US. Today so far, when I took that snapshot, it was this morning, was $136 US. So what are these amounts if you multiply by 14? Has anybody heard of it? No. How does she make this money? And she's got YouTube videos by dime a dozen. How many people here work with Excel? You know Excel inside out? Don't watch her videos. Who works with PowerPoint? How well do you know PowerPoint? Also, don't watch her videos. Free. She won't charge you a cent. She's got an online course of about $150 US. She made $1 million US giving courses on Excel and PowerPoint within 3 years. Okay, multiply that by 14. Don't look her up. There's many others as well. Many. Brian Cochran is another one. Andrew Ford is there are many others that are running online courses, but I'm showing online courses because that's where I am. That's the space I am in. But you can run other alternative businesses. Like I say, you can do grocery, knitting, and you can sell it via online businesses. You can write a course, for example, on taking a simple thing, saying how to knit a jersey. People will watch the video, they will go and try it and see, hold on, to knit a jersey actually takes quite a long time. Tell you what, I'll go back to and order the jersey from a website. Okay? That's how it's done. There is drug dealing, of course, that are into your own devices, and when Mr. Blood knocks at your door, you can explain to you like we give you the advice. And then many others. There's Amazon, if you want to write a book. I know people that have written books, if you look at their first books that they wrote, man, you got to respect them for the attempt. The attempt was brilliant, but the book was really crappy. Okay. But the books that they produced 5, 6, 7 years later, because they couldn't find a publisher. Publishers just turn them back away. Publishers are harsh. Publishers have got all sorts of rules and restrictions, etc., etc. But they go to Amazon and say, listen, I've got a book. And Amazon says, cool, come in. We'll sell it for you. Oh, you want to print it? We'll print it for you. And we'll even send it to the customer. What are you waiting for? It's going to do that too. If you want to sell, you make your own line of perfume, you can go and sell it on Amazon. You make your own line of shoes, you can go and sell it on Amazon. So the world is at your feet in terms of online businesses. Many options. And I think that was my last slide. And if you want to get a hold of me, it is my email address. But if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. But it's just a brief synopsis of being able to settle finally in Namibia, just to end off. A lot of Namibians are incredibly frustrated of all ages. What do they do with their careers? Do they undergo career changes? In the cyber world, I can tell you, I give lectures at NUST on cyber investigations and cybersecurity. And the most common question I get at every single presentation is, Andy, where can I get an intern job in Namibia? And for the cyber guys, Namibia, they're even scarcer than diamonds in our country. Sadly. Because big companies in Namibia very seldom offer intern positions, because most of the big corporates in Namibia, for example, I'm not saying all, but most, have Big Brother in South Africa that looks after their cybersecurity. Yes, the Namibians don't stand a chance of getting through the door. Okay, I'm not going to name them. And so it comes down, and then if you look at your medium-sized businesses, they're still trying to understand the cyber threat. Okay, it's just not in that market yet. If we look at the hospitality industry is currently under threat, so let's park that one for a moment. Accountants. The biggest complaint I hear from friends that own accountancy firms is they cannot retain the staff. The staff come and they go so fast, whether it's true or not, I'm not too sure, but this is what I hear. Pharmacists. Apparently, we have a lack of pharmacists, and not churning out enough pharmacists in the country. And so it goes on. So just sticking with the complaints that I hear is that the Namibians are feeling stuck. They don't know where to go. What they need to find is a little bit of courage to step out of their safety zone and go somewhere else. And start a career possibly. They do an instant career for a while. And make that contact, a person that will lead you somewhere else. The online business, and when I've done this talk previously, people ask me, can I do both? Can you both? It's up to you. What we found was with a lot of people that we teach how to do the online business, is they started as a slow process, a slow burn. They're unhappy in their current job and they build it up gradually until they're making enough money to be able to say to their boss, here's my resignation, but deals come out of it. And they then have a functional business. It's a simple process. You could probably start an online business with 200 bucks. the $1 million. That's how easy it is. And you could be selling courses for $50. You'll make your $200 that way. But this takes a little bit of passion. That's all it takes. Sorry, I interrupted the questions. Right. Thank you, Alden. Yes.
No, I didn't have a question.
Sure.
Just into the microphone, please. Again.
I want you to speak into the mic. Don't be shy.
Okay. No, okay, I have two questions. You talked about the online business, you need a little bit of patience. What is the little bit of patience when you're talking about time-wise? And then secondly, can you touch on the professional courses now? Or thirdly, how would you say, do you have services that facilitate this process, whether it be courses that are like a second course or the professional ones? Yeah, thank you.
Good questions. Okay, how long does it take? If you come to, we do have a workshop, today's workshop. On average, if you can find the time, like 5 hours a week, take you 30 days to start making money. That's what we find with most people. I make a promise to those that attend the workshop that if you follow the steps that I teach you, you'll make money in 30 days. Okay. How you take that further, and that's normally about 1,000 US. If you've got the right product, you find out what your audience possibly wants. You can't just go and read a book and say, I'll tell you all about the rosebush mating cycle or something, and you don't have any interest. So you need to find out what your audience wants, and then go teach to their soft points. What takes their pain away? What is their pain in life? And teach them something that creates an opportunity for them. That's how you start to build up the authentication process, and you start to make money. Sorry, what was the second question?
The second question I asked you to touch on the professional courses and then the other ones to
Facilitate. Okay, professional courses, this is how long is a piece of string. You get professional courses, it really depends what type of professional courses. If you're talking about online training, we take you to a point where we don't have anything more professional to teach you. By that point, you should be able to go on your own. What we then do is we run coaching and master classes. For those that want to really go a little bit further, we get a lot of students, even on the forensic and investigation side, they're business owners already, but they just haven't found that their business is firing. So they come along onto our coaching, and we help them through their process. What have they done wrong? We have a quick look at their business, look at their revenue, where they're not making money, where they should be making, and coach them through until they redevelop their clientele and build it up. I would imagine just like any other business, do the same. So that's the sort of professional side, and then the masterclass. The masterclass pushes it over the edge into a massive, and then there's membership possibilities, all sorts of other things. People get that coaching, that mentorship, that hand-holding process until they build up their confidence to be able to go on that. So that kind of flows into the third question as well. The facilitation comes from that in workshops.
and think professional courses, not the online part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. We're talking about the professionals, though. We're talking about lawyers, the doctors, the architects, engineers, right? Yeah. That's people that do degrees, and they then want an instant career because they feel like I did. I finished last year, as I said, not what I want to do. I think for science more troubles and psychology. And then I went to the police. And because that's what I wanted to do. It was a calling for me to join the police force. It's happened to me. I've got another friend who trained as a lawyer. He's the same age as me, so this was many years ago. He said, I'm not doing articles in our farms, cattle in Argentina or places, but anyway, that's where it is. So the professionals, yes, many of them do come out of varsity and also go to Dubai to be waiting. So does that answer that question? Saying in terms of professionals, so you qualify as a lawyer, for
Yeah.
example, and now you want to go work in the UK.
Yes, please.
Wow, that is a topic for another. I mean, you get pensions, you get aviation lawyers, you get maritime lawyers, the two the highest in the legal fraternity that earn the biggest amount of money. In that sector, for example, cyber lawyers earning big money right now. If you qualify as that, you can work in Australia, you can work in UK, you can work anywhere in the world with those type of qualifications. It's not like any other around. Doctors from this part of the world, particularly South Africa, invaded Canada, New Zealand, and Australia. So our skills and talents is from a professional level are sought after over the year. I believe there's an architect from Namibia, I'm just trying to remember his name, who has now ended up in Germany or Denmark or somewhere like that. The story was given to me like that. I didn't listen very well. But that's really a separate discussion because it's a more complex process. Because you're going to, you've got to go through immigration, work permits, because it's more permanent type of thing. This is what I was talking about this evening, is that instant one. You want to change your career, or you want to find a new career, or you want to look for better options, you want to experience the world, this is what you can do. But I suppose you can do that in the master training. But, yes, sir. You have to get him speaking to the mic, otherwise she's going to swat me or something. Can I protect? Okay. Protect.
No, no.
I see you haven't touched quite on the Nordic countries. I see countries like Norway, Finland. I even saw a report that Tokyo and, of course, not in the Nordic countries, but Finland and Tokyo, them are in a they have a very high labor demand, especially because they have a very low population of young people. So what opportunities in those countries like Tokyo and as well as the Nordic countries?
Tokyo.
No.
No, you're right. I didn't touch on them. To touch on every single country in a short while it takes a bit longer than that. Yes, but you are 100% correct. From what I understand, there is a big demand for qualified people, goes back to professionals as well. And then obviously you've got to be aware of English being a barrier in those countries. But they do speak English really well. That's one thing about Europe. Generally, most of the countries speak English really well. So that could be a restriction. Tokyo, look, we all know Japan's got massive demands for Westerners. It's a highly competitive labor market. The chefing industry, you know, the sports industry is in high demand. If you can coach rugby, you'll get a job in Japan very quickly. Do you know Japan has the highest rugby playing population in the entire world? Yeah. So, yeah, Japan is that. I haven't gone into any specific details in terms of, and probably would go back to the professional industry, professional sectors as well. I don't think Japan on an instant career or an instant job would be able to do it at the end of the day. They're more looking for the professional types, people that have got the qualifications to do specific things. Australia is the same. Good question. Well, I hope I've done my job.
Thank you so much, Andrew. I think you did an excellent job. This topic is close to my heart. I have 3 kids out of the country. I have one who traveled the world. She told me ever since that she wants to see the world. I said, well, you make sure you're in your way. And she ran away from school in Winter when she was 16. Went overseas, did some studies there, went to South America, learned more Spanish than she learned in actually, but she had a certificate. Then she started as a, I don't know what, kiddies entertainer in Mallorca. She paid more for the fare money that she borrowed from me and promised to give it back. From there, and she always wanted to go into the ocean. She wanted to go on cruise ships. She found out that you need to be 21 to go marine. So she went on the riverboat, got the certifications. Today she's qualified US financial sales, high finance, worked her way. It's a tough job. And to start from here I must say that you have to realize that you compete with the rest of the world. One day, when she phoned me, and again, I was so stressful, whatever, she did customer care and things like that. I said, just walk out. She said, Mommy, there are 50 people behind me waiting for me to walk out. I better stay. Just feel. That's what it takes, the passion. But then, our people are sought. It's usually the Zimbabweans that you find there. But when you manage to get a reference letter that tells you that you have done waiting, and you go work for little money at the Joe's and I don't know where, Spur, and I don't know what you want to call them, make sure you get a reference letter. And you use that and you borrow the money to pay for the fare, you promise to get it back. Those first 6 to 12 months will be tough. But should you manage to get through that, you'll pay back that money and you set your money connections to move on. And then you come home and you give daddy a nice holiday because you can afford to. So it's tougher than you think because you compete with the rest of the world, especially the people from Eastern Europe, I want to call them the Romanians, the Bulgarians. They work for little money, and as I said, there are always others who are ready to work another hour when you are tired or so, but it can be done. If you have the passion, you do it. Then, as you said, there are online courses. Yes, there are. We call it me and some others did a Florida University management course in tourism. I don't know what for, but I have a certificate. And the courses are free of charge. Once you want that certificate printed, you pay a bit. But yes, these are things behind your name. And especially if you're a man, you find your way. For ladies, it's always a bit difficult to go to the Arab states. Yeah, but you just search and you find it even in Namibia. I've got 3 friends of my kids who all work online. I can work from anywhere in the world. It's jobs like, what was that worst one? This online customer care thing. Yeah, you have to. Yeah, you respond to customers' complaints all the work, all the day, for little money. But once you've done that, you know how it works, and from there you go. So it takes a lot of sacrifice, but then, yeah, unfortunately, you're so right. There are not so many perspectives. I know of lawyers that work in camping sites in Germany, and there is a demand for qualified people. Obviously, there are requirements. If you want to go to Germany, you should have a German citizenship. My daughter works in Germany. She says, just think of some Namibians with German passports and I'll give them a job immediately. This does not work for all of us. But then, as you said, Arab states can be done. So, any more questions?
I recommend the Caribbean. The cocktails are really good. Jokes aside.
Yeah, I met some Namibians in the Caribbean,
Oh,
working as waiters, and yeah, I can find them all over the world.
Even then, speaking of requests,
Yeah. So I hope this gave you some ideas. You want to come back and discuss thoughts? Andrew is available.
otherwise, email me.
Write down his mail address. And otherwise, let's discuss.